Erev Tov Rabotai, we're continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Shabbat. We're up to Perek Kaf Mishnah Hey. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilun Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana Aranbayev, Neriyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Minuchatam began Eden, Amen. Although straw is usually muktzeh because its standard use is fuel for a fire, this Mishnah mentions cases in which moving straw is permitted. Hakash al gabe amita, if straw is on a bed and one wishes to fluff it up and make it softer to lie on, lo yena ne'o biyado, one may not move it with his hand because it's muktzeh, ela mena ne'o begufo, but he may move it with his body. For example, when he is lying down, he may shift it with his shoulders because this is an unusual way of moving straw, and we know the rabbis did not prohibit moving a muktzeh item with one's body in an unusual manner, as Rashi says on page 43b in Masechet Shabbat. And if straw was set aside before Shabbat as animal food, or she'alav karo sadin, or if there was a pillow or sheet on it when Shabbat began, indicating that it was going to be used as a mattress, minaneo biado, one may move it even with his hand, since the straw was designated for permissible use. It is not muktzeh. Now the next discussion is about a clothes press that consists of two large heavy boards, one on top of the other. 4 rods extend upward from the 4 corners of the lower board. They pass through 4 corresponding holes in the corners of the upper board, allowing the upper board to be lowered into place on the lower board. Now the garments to be pressed are laid out on the lower board and the upper board is lowered onto them. When the upper board is low enough to press the garments, pegs are inserted into the openings in the rods to keep the upper board in position. If anyone can see the diagram brought down by the Arts Elucidated or any other illustrated Mishnah, it will help understand the case. The Mishnah begins, Machbesh shel baalei batim matirin. We may open a householder's press by removing the holding pegs and raising the upper board if the pressed garments are needed for Shabbat, avalok kovshin, but we may not press garments on Shabbat in the first place because they will not be ready until after Shabbat, and it is forbidden to make preparations on Shabbat for a weekday. And the commentary says, since creases in the garments were removed through pressure alone, the boards needed to be held in place for at least a day. However, regarding a press of professional launderers, the law is that one may not even touch it, meaning one may not touch the press even to open it. The boards of a launderer's press are pressed together so tightly that separating them resembles the melacha of demolishing. Now, this Tana holds that opening a launderer's press is always forbidden without any exceptions. The next Tana disagrees. Rabbi Yehuda says, Imaya mutar me'erev Shabbat, if the launderer's press was partially open before Shabbat, meaning the pegs and the rods are somewhat loose, as Etferet Israel says, matir et kulo v'shomto, one may open it completely by taking out the pegs and remove the garment, because since the press is already partially open, removing the pegs the rest of the way does not resemble demolishing. Now the first Tana, however, holds that one may not remove the pegs of a launderer's press even if they are already loose, because he might come to remove them in a case where they are tightly inserted, which is forbidden. And the Rav does say, Ve'en halacha ki Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Yehuda. And that is the end of Rabotai of chapter 20, Mishnah Hey. We continue now with Perek Chaf Aleph, Mishnah Aleph. This chapter deals with exceptions to the muktzeh prohibition. Notel adam et beno va'even biado. A person may hold his son who has a stone in his hand if the son yearns to be held by his father. Now, although the child is carrying a stone, which is muktzeh, the father may pick him up because the child might otherwise become ill, and the father is not holding the stone in his own hands. Now, the father is not required to shake the stone out of the child's hand because that would make the child scream and cry. We're going to learn in the next Mishnah that in certain situations, it's permitted to move a muktzeh object indirectly by moving a permitted object, which in turn moves the muktzeh object, what we call tiltul min hatzad. However, that permission doesn't apply here, even though the father is only holding his son and it's the son who's moving the stone, because moving muktzeh indirectly is permitted only where one does so for the sake of the permitted object and not for the sake of the muktzeh object, for example, to push it into a safe place. In our case, the father also wants the muktzeh object because it's his son's toy. Therefore, he would be prohibited to move the stone even indirectly, if not for the fact that the son yearns to be held by his father and he refuses to let go of the stone, as the elucidated explains in note 1. V'chalkala v'ha'even betochah, and a person may move a basket with the stone inside it if the stone is needed to fill a hole in the basket and is therefore considered part of the basket. Now the next case concerns teruma that is tameh, which is muktzeh, because no one, not even a kohen, may eat it. Umtaltilin teruma tmeim mateura v'imachulin, and we may move teruma that is tameh together, meaning in the same basket, with teruma that is tahor, or with chulin, regular non-sacred food, because the teruma that is tameh, which may not be eaten, is considered insignificant with respect to the other foods which may be eaten. Now we know teruma that is tahor is not muktzeh even to a non-kohen, because although he may not eat it himself, it may be eaten by a kohen, like we spoke about in chapter 18, Mishnah 1. Now, the Mishnah deals with miduma, which is a mixture of teruma and chulin. Miduma, we know, may not be eaten unless the amount of chulin in it is at least 100 times more than the teruma. And in addition, a portion that corresponds to the amount of teruma in the mixture must be removed in order to make the mixture permitted. This portion is given to a kohen to financially compensate him for the loss of the teruma, like we learned in Mishnayot Olah, chapter 2, Mishnah 1. The Mishnah discusses removing this teruma portion on Shabbat. Rabbi Yehuda says, Af ma'alin at miduma be'echad umea. We may also remove the teruma portion of a mixture in which one part teruma got mixed with 100 parts chulin. Now, although removing teruma from untithed produce on Shabbat is forbidden, removing the teruma portion from miduma is allowed. And the commentaries explain, we know removing teruma or any of the other obligatory portions from tevel is prohibited on Shabbat, because doing so to speak, repairs the produce by making it fit to be eaten, which resembles the melecha of repairing a utensil. However, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we may remove the teruma portion from miduma on Shabbat. Now, it's not necessary to physically separate the teruma portion from the mixture. Even if one just mentally designates a particular section of the mixture as a teruma portion, the entire mixture may be eaten except for the designated section. Rabbi Yehuda holds that since one is allowed to eat from the mixture without physically removing the required portion, its physical removal on Shabbat is not a forbidden repair. Now, this reasoning should also apply to separating portions from tevel, since tevel can also be made permissible through mental designation alone, but the rabbis treated the repairing of tevel more strictly because tevel was never permitted, whereas miduma is a mixture of two foods, teruma and chulin, both of which was once permitted. And the Rav does say, Ven halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Yehuda. And you would not be allowed to separate the teruma portion from miduma on Shabbat as well. That would be forbidden. That is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.